Yes.
Okay. Yes.
So the first question is about component selection. Can you describe and justify how you selected the principal items or materials for your mechatronic system in your workstation, and how did you think those were selected with a methodology and they were technically correct for your workstation?
Okay.
So, what was the process of selecting the materials and how did you take those decisions?
Okay. Overall, all the components or just like the main ones?
Everything.
Well, the robot, the ABB was given to us, but we had to make sure that it has the correct payload and the reach that could sustain the extruder and place it in the thread. And well, the reach was also in hand of the design of the whole workstation. We also had given the PLC, which had the enough number of inputs and outputs that could be used in the workstation, and the HMI to make the operation easier for the operator to use. Those three were given to us, but besides that, we also chose two buttons, the start button and the emergency button. Well, yes, they were using the standard, the IEC standard, and we also had some clamps that we make sure that could have enough torque, the force, to grab the thread and for it to stay there. Also, another component was the gripper, that we also had to check the technicalities or the specs, so you can have I forgot the word in English, the carrera, that it had the distance, the sufficient distance, so it can grab the extruder or pieces.
So what were the standards that you used for the design and development of the workstation?
The design, the CAD?
What were the standards for the design or the engineering of your workstation? All the standards.
Well, I know that the electrical was the IEC, and for the security we have the ANSI. Yeah, and I don't know the other one, sorry.
And the following question. How did you plan the automation to add or put the extruder in the thread? How did you get that idea of that specific robot routine?
Well, first of all, we observed the past iterations from the last semesters, and we tried to identify some opportunities that could be implemented to have a better cycle time or even an easier process for the robot. So after we had checked, analyzed more or less the robot routine, the past robot routine, we made a brainstorming between all the team members, and we had several ideas, and then we made a prototype, a kind of prototype. We programmed the robot with that prototype, and over the process we had find different things that could be improved. So for example, we had 3 to 4 iterations from the snap fit, and until it has been working consistently.
Okay, so the next 3 questions or 5 questions will be short answers. What is the encode to activate the coolant?
M08.
And what was the purpose of using a value stream map?
Was to simulate or analyze the whole process of the plant to know the cycle time, the throughput. Yeah.
What was the main idea of using 5S in the workstation?
To have a more organized and have orden. Order amongst the station and avoid having unnecessary yeah, unnecessary, how can I say it?
Items. things.
Items, processes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the purpose of using Process Simulate in your workstation? What was the benefits of using that software?
To have a simulation, a digital twin of the process, so the operator doesn't need to be seeing the line in person to know how it reacts or how it behaves.
And finally, what is the extension of the file to manufacture a part with a 3D printer?
G code, yeah.
But
Well,
the extension of the CAD file.
STL to slicer to
Yes.
G code. Yeah.
I'm done.
Okay. What is the process that you need to do in order to integrate the PLC, Siemens PLC, and the ABB robot via Profit?
Well, we had first of all to connect either the robot, the controller's robot to the switch and the switch to the PLC if we have more components, or it can be directly to the PLC. And then we have to assign like the IP configurations in the same subnet and connect it in the TIA Portal program.
In the portal, what do you need to?
We need to install and like download the Omnicore, which is the controllers. In case of another ABB, will be like IRC5, for example. But in this case, Omnicore, we install it. We tell into a portal that it's this IP configuration that we're searching for, and we connect it in the network diagram.
Okay. What is the voltage for the signal control in the first factory?
Of the what, sorry?
The voltage for the signal control.
Signal control 24 volts.
Okay. What types of instructions for motion exist in the robots when you are programming it?
The joint, the linear, and the circular.
Okay. Where in a pick and place application, what kind of instructions do you need?
Well, it can be like joint, to move each joint independently when we have like bigger movements to avoid singularities, and just like for example in the per peak and the peak, it can be linear.
Okay. If you need to control a conveyor which is driven by a AC motor, what do you need to consider in order to integrate a control with the PLC?
Well, we will need a driver or a frequency variator. I don't know if that's the
drivers
word.
is the
Yeah. Well, we need to have that, and yeah. Sorry, what was the rest of the question?
if you need to integrate with the PLC in order to control the conveyor.
We will have the driver physically, obviously connected, and from the PLC we need to have a signal, an analog signal.
What is the connection between the PLC and the driver?
Analog.
Sure.
No, digital. No,
Are you Are you sure?
analog. Yeah, I will say analog.
You need by communication. The driver and the PLC are connected in the switch in order to integrate the communication and exchange data between them. Devices.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you need to connect an external emergency stop in the robot, what do you need to do?
An external will have the button or any form of
What kind of buttons?
the mushroom that normally
What?
normally if it's not pressed then normally closed.
Okay.
Yeah. And just connected to the controller. To a they have a specific port for emergency.
What number of terminals for you need to connect in the emergency stop?
One to the signal and to close it to the
Okay.
Great.
So the last question is, what do you think is the best knowledge or the best thing that you got from the Pratt factory experience?
So I think I had several. First of all, work in a team, a big team. Like we're normally acostumbrado to work in small teams. But besides that, I think that losing that fear of doing the first step. Because for example, at the first glance, integrating the robot and HMI and PLC are some things that we haven't seen a lot in the past. So it seems like a lot to take. But just like going through and going with, not with the flow, but like making an effort to accomplish that and don't give up when something fails. I think that's the best knowledge I had.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adrian. And you can end
Yeah.
the video.